guys my actual GitHub account. Sign out. And give me just 2 seconds to find my password. I keep these passwords really weird. Okay, perfect. All right, so now this is my actual GitHub page. On GitHub, fun fact, you can actually add friends, but like, don't treat it as Instagram where you're just adding as many people as you want. Just add people you're in like communication with regarding like code or something. If you're working on a project with someone, this is one of my friends helping me out with like university applications, and he was checking out my GitHub page. So it's like really just smoothly sort of like he was just checking stuff out. So that's fine, but just don't have like 300 followers. It's sort of like not necessary. Okay. So these are all my repositories. Now, one thing I sort of forgot to mention, but I'll quickly mention, is sort of like a hack on GitHub where if you have a repository and you're sort of just deciding on like a name of it, if you go onto my actual account, what you'll notice is I have a little introduction right here about myself, and then there's some like actual repositories. So now how you do this is you can create a repository and name it the exact same as your username. And then it's just going to be a README file where you can type about yourself. So that's a really good thing to do, because when people are coming to check out your GitHub page, they will probably want to know who you are. So this is a really good way to show them like your interests or anything like that. And once I go through my GitHub page and show you guys how it's properly done, we'll quickly again switch back to the other account, and I'll just show you guys how to organize all that. Okay, so this is my account as someone else would see it when I send them like a link to my account. So again, introduction, I'm interested in this, some of my projects are blah, blah, blah. Low follower count, just where I am, quick small introduction, and everything's clean. One thing I would suggest that I have yet to do, add a proper profile picture, because this is like super generic. Like this is basically what they automatically give you. I need to have like a proper photo. And again, keep the photo professional. Suit, tie, dress, typically better, but like casual works too. When you go down, when other people are looking at my GitHub, they're also going to see a contributions list. So it basically tells the person viewing, when has this person been active uploading stuff. So as you can see, I'm not like typically very active. I have been a bit recently, but I started this GitHub account over when I was transferring all my files. So as you can see on this one day, I uploaded like 45 different things, just adding everything onto this account. And I spent like some days in between just like tweaking stuff and just cleaning stuff up. You can pin certain repositories. So once you get multiple repositories on your main page, you can pin certain ones that you want like people to look at first, like usually your best ones. And then they can click on repositories and it shows them all of them. And once you add code into your actual repositories, it automatically assigns like what language did you like write it in. So I've got C++, I've got Java, I've got Python, I've got processing, which is not really known, but it's just something we used in our computer science classes at school. Okay, so we'll quickly go back to the main one, and this is the repository I'm going to quickly go over. Okay, so this is how I organized it. So again, keep it nice and simple. So I named it basketball mini hoop. So they know it's related to basketball mini hoop. And then once they click on the repository, they can know what it's like actually about. So in the README file, what I did was I titled it mini hoop tracker. That's fine. I gave a date because since I uploaded everything on one day, it's sort of like no way I completed all of these projects in one day, right? So I just gave like a date, YouTube demonstration link, and then extra images link. So the reason I did this is because a demonstration for a project involving hardware is quite necessary. So if we just quickly go here, so it's just going to be this is my project. So it just tracks your makes and misses. So I missed one, I missed another one. And then if you go up to it, it says you made 1 out of 3, 33%, right? Like either way. So have like a link to a demonstration video. That's really good to have. And the secondary thing, have a link to an images folder. So images such as these are super valuable. They don't have to watch the YouTube video over and over again. They can see, okay, here's the mini hoop, sensor here, there's a sensor within the rim, and a little box set up with the display. So just have an images link, demonstration link that's really good for whoever wants to visit your GitHub. All right, next step. So next we're going to focus on this paragraph. So this paragraph basically describes what is your project, like what does it do? So a system that is attached to the basketball mini hoop, blah, 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 blah. And one thing I'd be very, very careful about here is you want to use technical language. And what I mean by technical language is be as specific as possible. So in my projects, I use certain sensors. So I always note down like what sensor did I actually use. So I write the model name of the sensor, and in brackets I wrote it's an ultrasonic distance sensor. And that's what you see sort of attached to the rim right here. Like this is the ultrasonic distance sensor. Then another one, I used an MPU 6050. So what is that? It's an accelerometer and a gyro, so gyroscope. So these two sensors together explain, LCD screen, and just everything about your project and how it works and what it does, just right here. And honestly, something I would say is, again, you got to look at the context. Like, why do you have a GitHub page right now? So for most of you, it's probably going to be before applying to university or for applying to a job. So if you're applying to university, I'd say like this amount of detail, like they're obviously not going to read it, but it's just nice to have because they want to see that you're thorough. When you're applying to a job, like it's super annoying for an employer when they click on like a GitHub page and they see like literally a block of text like I have here. So what I do in that case is shorten this down to literally like 3 sentences. For that reason, like you won't necessarily need to write the sensors. You don't need to go into great detail. Just do the basic, have the demonstration, that have the images, and that's typically enough. Now for university, I have a description. I have the 2 links, and now I also go into further depth where I talk about challenges I faced. So while doing this project, some challenges I faced. So I write about that and write about how I solved them. Lessons learned. So like what sort of like new things did I learn? Like it helped my critical thinking skills or something like that. And then one thing to also mention, and I'd also do this in later if you're applying to a job, is talk about possible improvements. So they want to like, obviously your project's not going to be perfect. Like it's just not, I'm sure there's always going to be a possible improvement for all of your projects. So just having things like, it could have been protected better. It could have been a more durable system, just something like that. So they like realize that you're sort of going beyond just doing a project and you're actually like thinking about it really well. So just organizing it like this is, I'd say, really good. Date, video link, images, description, challenges, lessons, possible improvements. So that's just for the README file. Okay, now if we go beyond that, your code obviously is going to be uploaded on here. So just like I said, like the drag and drop system. So this is the code for the system. And what you want to also do is comment your code. So if many of you have attended any of like our past workshops with like actual coding languages, I'm sure most people talk about commenting. And if you haven't, you can check out our YouTube page, I believe, after this, or Ryan can maybe mention that at the end. But knowing how to comment stuff is also really useful because whoever's looking at your GitHub page, they don't want to like, they can't like, this is not English, right? Like they can't really read it. So what you want to do is just tell them what's happening where. So if I quickly go here, like these 4 lines, okay, it's the input for the ultrasonic distance sensor, simple, clean, and they don't have to like sort of figure it out. Just make sure you guys are commenting as much as possible in any of your projects. It just makes everything a lot cleaner. And if anytime you go back to the code, it's also easier for you to tell where you need to go to like find certain things. That's code. Then for this project, I just added some extra code, like example, just for the button. I had like really small code and just added that. That's not really necessary. This is something else that I would typically do is I have a rough schematic. So what a schematic is, it's sort of like a diagram. And this is done in hardware only, like software, you don't really need a schematic. So just what a rough schematic looks like. Okay, so this is what the schematic is. I personally did not draw this actually. I used a software online that does this for you automatically. And I just drag and drop sensors, the breadboard, like a button, and it sort of autofills everything for you. So this is obviously not what my project looked like, but it just sort of shows them like roughly like what it was. Okay, there's a switch, there's batteries, the LCD screen, the Arduino, the sensor, and a button, right? Like it's super simple, clean, and also just a nice way to like for you to organize your ideas so you know what material you might need to buy in case you decide to do something like this again. And remember to always keep this as consistent as possible. You don't just want like one project to be super nice and then have like another one that's not as detailed, because then they could also get, I don't want to say like suspicious, but like just try to keep it consistent so they know it's like you're doing it every time. So for example, this is another one of my projects. So in this one, I actually like, it's not like an original project. I like took the idea from like this YouTube video. So I said inspired by YouTube video. Then I had my demonstration, my pictures, and I talked about the individual components and how they work. Then again, challenges, lessons, possible improvements. Then I have the code for the two ends. And again, like rough schematics. So this is with the car side, and this is with the glove side. So all of my projects, like these types of projects using the Arduino, are super consistent. And now we're gonna go quickly into just a pure software project. So this is one I did like 3 days ago. It was for my final project for school. So created a physics solver. So this one clearly looks a bit different, but we have a README file, the date. Uh, I just wrote computer science 20 final project. That's just what it was for. Then I quickly gave instructions on how to run the code. And for this specific project, there were like, you had to log in for certain modes. Like we had like a teacher mode. So if you want to log in as the teacher, use this code. Or if you want to exit, do that. Then there's like a homework mode, a test mode, and a teacher mode. So just explanations for all of those. Upload your code, all of it into here. Commenting again on like the sides. It's a bit different with pure software, but it's again like a similar process. Just keep it as minimal and as organized as possible and also consistent. Okay, that's quite a ramble. Just quick last mention, and we'll go back onto the other account really quick. In your main README file, so when you create a repository by the same name as your username, you can also add a little like feel free to contact me. So as I explained like a while back, like with like the friends thing, you don't want to have too many followers. Like GitHub is not a social network. It has the feature to be a social network, but it's meant to be to display projects like just purely that and for work purposes. So typically when you're like, you can message each other on here and stuff. No one really like checks that on GitHub. What you would typically want to do is like, feel free to contact me. Again, I have my LinkedIn here. You can have your own personal website. You can maybe even say Gmail. Phone number I'd hesitate against because it is like a public thing, so you don't want to like people just spamming you. Yeah, and just things like that. So it's really nice for people if they do want to get in touch with you. They might like they don't really want to reach out on GitHub. It's just not what people do. So to have like a secondary link is really good to have. And this part you can also like, this is going to sound a bit funny, but like you can be a bit more human on this end of the part where you're introducing yourself. Like I also wrote outside of coding some of my hobbies. Like I do tutoring, I run these workshops and just things like that. Okay. Now we'll quickly switch back over just so I can show you guys what I mean by the creating the repository thing. Okay, so we have this one repository that we've already created. I'm just going to quickly copy paste this username. Let me copy paste this username. Oh my goodness. Okay, Control C, home, new. Okay, now if you create a repository by your own thing, see it like just tells you, you found a secret, your username, repository name, your username is a special repository you can use to add a README file to your GitHub profile. Make sure it's public and initialized with a README to get started. So it's public, README, and create repository. There we go. So again, it's like right here. This is just some like commented out stuff, like things you can do. I'm just going to delete that for now. So hi there. I'm just going to say GitHub workshop. Commit changes. Wonderful. So now anytime someone visits your profile, as you can see, it's super similar to what mine looked like. There's going to be your own description. You can edit your profile, add a profile picture, which I recommend. Now here are the repositories. Now obviously you don't have enough to like pin them and choose which ones you want them to show. You only have these two for now. Then again, it shows that little graph of yours, like contributions, had one contribution January 5th. And this was when I was creating this account for this workshop. And today we have 6 contributions. And it's just a bunch of things like you have little achievements, I guess, like join GitHub, your first repository, and just little things like that. So this is a really good way to organize everything. You can, again, just go into settings, mess around, whatever appearance you want. You can change your username, which is really good because like this is not an ideal username. Don't have a username like test2345. Like as you guys saw in my other GitHub, my username was harshp30, right? Like my name and then like a last name initial, and then 30 is just super clean and people will know it's me when they go to open my GitHub page. And just, yeah, we'll end on one final note. Percent from current slide. Okay, so yeah, always remember to keep your GitHub page professional and organized. It's essential if you want to impress an employer or university. This is not something your friends are typically going to be checking out as like example to like your Instagram page. You just want to keep it clean, straight to the point, and just like show off. Like don't be afraid to show off on GitHub. It's the entire point. Like in my projects, I like talk so much about them where it's like, oh, I did this, this was amazing, and things like that. So don't be afraid to like just like show off your achievements or like your projects, and it's gonna be, yeah, it should look really good on GitHub. And yeah, all right, thank you guys for coming. And besides that, if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to ask.